Okay, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Doctor Who review, episode number 34. This is pretty much covering an episode from Peter Davidson's run. And here's an interesting there's many fun facts about this one. Number one, this actually was the first regular Doctor Who story I have watched after the Five Doctors. Because I love the Five Doctors so much that this was the first one I watched. And this also was the final regular appearance of one of the companions of the show. And it does feature the return of a villain who does come back a couple more times after this. One does return once after this. And, well, let's talk about it. We have the Resurrection of the Daleks, the 134th serial from Doctor Who. Now, here's another fun fact about this story. It's a two-parter. You're thinking, how is a two-parter? Isn't these episodes at this point in time about 25 minutes? Yes. There's a reason for this. When I heard the reason why it's two-parter, this was later broken up to four-part serials, like, for syndication purposes, was because the 1984 Olympics was going on. So, they decided to combine two episodes into one and make it two 45-minute episodes. So, technically, this was an experiment. You could think of it as an experiment, as something they would explore in the very next season of the show. Next fun fact. The third and last story of Peter Davidson's run as Doctor. And the only reason why they brought the Daleks in was because of the 20th anniversary kick. They really wanted to do another story featuring the 20th anniversary because they basically were still in that kick. Because I think the 20th season received a lot of praise from fans and critics. I'm BBC very proud of it. But here's the thing. This actually is one of three stories in the 20th season where it's the return of a previous creature per se. In the case of Warriors Deep, that brought back the return of the Silurians and the Sea Devils, who both of them to come back. The Daleks in this one, along with Debros in his third ever appearance. Now, I had discussed his first two appearances and his last appearance, Classic Revolution Daleks. There's actually one more story for him left in Classic Who. And that's it, left to cover for him. Now, as for where, and of course they kind of time travel to late 20th century, they don't specify exactly where the heck they are. It's that they're in London, despite the fact you have Tegan who's from, well, excuse me. No, speaking of, this actually is her final regular appearance on the series. She returned 3 times afterwards. The first time in a special, it's always in specials. First, the time of the Silurians, which is it's not been confirmed if this one's canon or not, because it was the only time that Colin Baker took on the Centaurans, in more of a traditional appearance of the Centaurans compared to when they appeared in Two Doctors. The second return, and this was the last physical appearance of her for a long time. The controversial Dimensions in Time, this quick two-parter, which at the time was supposed to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the franchise, and it was basically it was a charity episode, just basically. Also, it was a crossover with EastEnders. Yes, you've been wondering, what the heck is EastEnders? EastEnders is a soap opera that basically aired on the same network as Doctor Who. The thing is, I have never watched EastEnders, and that's something else altogether. Now, the story starts out on a space station, which apparently here's the thing, it's a prison station, and it has one prisoner in the entire station. Now you're probably thinking, who's the prisoner? It's Debros. Yep, Debros is the prisoner. Now you're probably thinking, why the heck is he kept here for? Well, in the previous story that last thing was seen, Destined to Daleks, which came out, let's see, how long ago was this? You have For Destiny of the Dalek, which actually came out in 1979. This was the first time in like 6 years. Actually, about 5 years that he'd been seen. Of course, he made 2 appearances in Classic Who, and he appeared in 4 episodes of New Who. Yeah, 4. His last such appearance being in The Witch's Familiar. Now, as also pointed out, though, Dev Ross's actor does change once again. Except that after the story, the actor who plays him is not Michael Wisher. No, they replaced him with an actor by the name of Trevor Mallory. This actually was his debut as Dev Ross. He actually would come back 2 more times after this. Basically, in the next 2 appearances of the Daleks. Because the Classic Who, with New Who, they basically replaced him with a different actor who's played with the 4 episodes that appeared in that one. If you think about it, Dev Ross has gone through about 5 different, at least about 4 different actors. Now, Trevor Mallory is actually the one who's played a lot. Yes, I would say him along with the most recent version. Basically, he's played more episodes. Now, the reason why Mike Wisher was not available, he didn't do the second one, because I heard a rumor he was doing a play. Now, why he wasn't brought back for this one, that is a complete mystery. Was he dead? Couldn't they just basically bring him back here? What, was he just too busy? Well, no, he actually was not dead. Not really, no. Okay, basically it's because he's doing plays. That's mainly the reason why that's the reason why they come back as the character. But he did come back in the Trial of Dev Ross, which is a play. But that was actually the last time he ever played him. If you want to have Mike Wisher, he has since passed away. He passed away in 1995. So, yeah. That is an explanation because he was busy with theater work. Yeah, that was the reason why they could bring it back. There's also his first appearance of Lytton. Yes, he is a minor recurring character of the series. He actually appears one more time after this, believe it or not. Yes. Yeah, he appears also in, like, Attack of the Cybermen. And after that, he never appears ever again in the series. You're probably thinking, why? Because the character got killed off in the next story. I'll talk more about that when I get a chance to get hands on Attack of the Cybermen. Now, they do bring up the story, the Malevolence, who were the robot species that the Daleks were fighting in the last story, which good continuity in that part. I'm glad Eric Stewart, the writer of the story, managed to remember that. And here's the thing, it's revealed that the long-standing war that had been going on between these 2 species, there was a stalemate in the last story, and it turns out the Daleks lost that war. The reason? A virus. Yes, a virus basically caused a Daleks' defeat. Now, the whole thing with the story is that the Daleks are in a hurry. Because even though they lost the war, they're still very powerful and very feared. So, basically, they have a spaceship, which is not their normal spaceships they use, because in New Who, they give them flying saucers. Here, it looks like some random vessel they just happened to find. This is basically proclaimed to be their actual craft, which is kind of weird. It's not exactly explained why the heck they got the ship for. So basically, they break it and they eat. Now, here's the thing. The space station Dev Ross held on is basically falling apart at the seams. And apparently, the engineers don't care to fix it. And according to the station's doctor, apparently it's been like this since the last inspection. Yes. And the captain is an idiot, apparently doesn't care about his own damn ship. Then why the heck is he in charge? And the doctor, well, her only priority is the crew and the prisoner. Does not care about the damn ship at all. The security officer, who, by the way, this is his only appearance. He actually appears in the story. Yeah, he says he'll be there for 3 days, and he apparently sees that crew morale is terrible. Now, I'm sure he probably made the rounds in 3 days in the space station, and apparently, according to the ship's doctor, she had been there for 2 years. And the captain has to give her good reports to get her next motion, so she has to be there for another 2 years. on this space station. Okay, fine. So it's a similar type of writing they used in Earthshock. Okay, fine. So basically, like the place is like far. Now the only thing that works is the cryo freeze for Deborah and the life. Apparently, there are two things that work in the space station. Actually, three things. It does have power. The cryogenic chamber for Debros works, and of course, life support works. Obviously, so the machines do, but a lot of the other stuff doesn't work. Like the doors to work properly, and I'm like, doesn't the captain have engineers to fix this damn place? And the way it looks, some of this way this wall is made up. Excuse me. Excuse me. Yes, it seems as though they took basically crates they used in shipping yards to make up the walls. Yeah, it shows the fact that Doctor Who was cheap when it comes to making sets. Now, when I was watching the scene where the Daleks come in, I'm like, the special effect with the ship, like the ship looks fine. It's just the effects have aged terribly. I mean, the other thing that's not aged terribly is the sequence where they basically have this little tube that docks with the station. Now, after they get there, they basically massacre the whole freaking crew, except for these small hidden people, including this doctor, this security guy who somehow is named the next captain. Yeah, it's not expected to specify who the heck the captain is, aside from the fact he's a complete idiot, and the fact he's killed in the first attack. So, who's in charge of the station? Is it a security officer? I highly doubt he is. He has barely experience. I'd say probably the doctor who's there. Possibly. It's not exactly very clear. Oh, by the way, you also can see another way they're cheap is their laser guns, which basically are redesigned versions of the Dalek guns. And supposedly these things shoot lasers. And they basically put them on like little guns and just pam, pam, pam. Even the Doctor himself uses one of these damn things. Well, the only reason why he's like away with it because it's an alien weapon compared to, let's say, a pistol. Now, Doctor himself doesn't like using guns at all. This is actually pointed out about the Fourth Doctor. Excuse me, but here, it's not really an issue. Nope. Meanwhile, the Doctor himself has arrived on Earth at the Dark Turns been caught in a time corridor. Yes, seriously. How the heck was this possible? It's not exactly thoroughly explained why. They have this guy who's basically, his name is Stein. He's basically there for a lot of the time. And this apparently the story kind of falls a little bit after the events of the previous story. Yeah, so basically they kind of hide mostly. Yeah, they hide in like various quarters, and they later come with the idea to first oh, let's kill Debros, and that doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work at all. Though he's later freed by Lytton, who is I'd say a very competently written character. He's very competent. Like, I like the fact that he apparently is like able to, despite the fact he's leading these mercenaries, that apparently the Daleks took time to hire. Yes, the Daleks hired mercenaries to work for them, and they apparently carry on helmets that look like Dalek heads, and they wear these armors. So he's even disguised as a policeman from Earth, which was a really cool disguise. They have specimens apparently escaped for some reason, and all but one are killed, though they later reveal that Stein is actually a duplicate. Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird, where they revealed that despite the fact he's like very much a coward, and then like, oh, he's just a duplicate somehow. And apparently, the point out that this Dalek ship apparently has got a version of a replicator on board. Now you're probably thinking, wait, a replicator? That's something especially with Star Trek. It's not called replicator, but clearly it is because it makes up frickin' guns. Yes, frickin' guns. So, and it's also had this warehouse. Apparently, it's under the control of this military group. Now, why they're there? Because these capsules, which they designate as unexploded bombs, which it's actually revealed later on in the story that these things contain the malevolent virus. Yeah, I'm not kidding about that. These tubes contain it. Now, here's the weird thing. Despite the fact Devros has kept in this prison for 90 years, now Earth, they show Earth. Now Earth is basically showing me present day, while the space station is clearly futuristic. Well, there's a reason for that. The time corridor. Yes, the Daleks time corridor. Which, if I remember correctly, I think this is one of maybe a couple appearances that made in the classic Who, because this has never appeared in New Who at all. No. It didn't appear in the next two stories at all. Not that I can think of, no. So, eventually, of course, basically, the Doctor eventually finds out what's going on. Now you're probably thinking, military involvement. You watch the story, the unit is still very much active this period of time. Now you're probably thinking, why couldn't the Doctor contact unit? Well, there is kind of a reason for that. I do have a theory on that, and my theory is this, that Eric Stewart probably didn't plan on having unit here. That's probably the reason unit's not here, because normally something like this, that unit would definitely get involved, but they're not here. There's no mention of them. Now, here's the weird thing. They have had unit pop up without the Brigadier showing up in the series before this. And yet here, apparently, I don't know if it was like a rule, or apparently just had no desire to use unit at all. Because here's the thing. Unit was last seen in Doctor Who in, I think it was the Green... it was a story for Tom Baker. And after that, the unit itself was mentioned once in the Peter Davison run. And it was the end of his first season. That was the only time that the organization was... Actually, one of two times. The other was the Marion Undead. The first was Time Flying, it was Marion Undead. Aside from common mentions, there's, and of course, a brief minor appearance in the 5 Doctor Special. They do not play a role in Doctor Who until Battlefield. Yeah, that's the weird thing about it. It's they don't play a role at all. My guess is that they don't have the Doctor tied to the unit that much. That's probably the reason for it, because normally something like this you would call a unit, because they were first introduced in Patrick Troughton's story, The Invasion, and you probably think that something like this they would get involved with, but nope. Now, it could be because none of the actors were available associated with units. It's possible. They could have brought back Nicholas Courtney, no problem at this point. They could have, but they don't. Because at the Marion Undead is appearing at the Battlefield. Which is a fun story. I'm looking forward to reviewing that at some point. So, Turlough gets separated from the group, ends up in a Dalek corridor by himself, ends up in a Dalek spaceship, which somehow is connected to the space station. It's kind of weird, not really explained here. So, they free Devros, and he's informed about the Dalek losing the war on the Malevolence. So, apparently also, Linton is working directly for the Supreme Dalek as basically he's his boss. So, and apparently the reason why they found him this time, now last time I looked for him was to find a solution for the war. This time was find a cure for the malevolent virus, because basically he's a scientist. Excuse me. And this is kind of weird as part of this. It just seems as though a lot of the time you see Devros forming his own gang, basically with the Daleks. He basically he brainwashed a couple of Daleks, several Linton's men, a scientist. Anybody thinking, what exactly is he planning? He plans to remake the Daleks. For reasons. Well, one reason he said, because they made him too ruthless. Okay. Can you give an explanation why? Not really, no. And I kind of felt this though watching the story. It seems like whatever Deborah Ross was planning on doing was probably like cut from the story. I'm thinking that that probably was because when you see him on screen, you see him like brainwashing people, working up with Daleks, and at one point it's like, oh, what's going on with the Millennium virus? Like, when the heck was he basically talking about that? Maybe Linton probably told him off screen. It's almost like basically a missing info here. And these episodes are 45 minutes. You would think they would include it. Like, I've checked the deleted scenes. There's nothing there. The fact he was even brought up about the virus. It's like he would just basically assume it was there. Yeah. So, at one point, Tegan is injured and basically does nothing a lot of the story. Yeah, for her final regular appearance, she doesn't do much anything at all. And that's kind of odd for her. Like, I like Tegan as a character. The actress at the time was a very beautiful woman. And I think currently she's about 50, I think, right now. Because I think at the time she's probably like in her 20s. And this, of course, okay, she's 69 currently. So I think at the time when she was on Doctor Who, she must have been like, let's see, 1981. She was probably 28 when she was on the show. And when she left the show, she was probably like in her early 30s. Yeah. She was like 27. She probably left when she was 30. She probably left because she wanted to do something else. That's possible to say at least. Mm-hmm. But who knows exactly the reason why she left. If I ever get a chance, I probably will find out exactly what was the reason why she left. Apparently she's about 70 now. Yeah, she's about 70. Well, because she was born in 1953. And when she came on the show was 1981. She was 27. And when she left, she was 31. Now, it could be because she wanted to move on. It's possible. Anyways, so you're probably thinking who of the two companions for the story, because Nessa's not here. You're probably thinking, where's Nessa? Because last time he basically talked about Peter Davis's run, well, with the exception of special, was probably Cash of Elva. What happened to Nessa? She left halfway through the Black Garden trilogy, which was the previous season's show. Why she left? Don't know. Yeah, so basically, like, in this one, where Turlo, he does a lot of legwork. He moves around. He's with the other guy, just looking around. It appears as though you look at this story, it seems like Turlo gets almost nothing to do. It's like hanging out with some one-shot character who then gets killed anyways. Yes, apparently, like, after him and his people just kill some of Linton's guards, they just take their uniforms. Yes, so they switch out from their official uniforms to mercenary uniforms for reasons. Now, I just want to know, Turlo himself is actually still at this point in time, still wearing his school uniform. Now, you're probably thinking, why was Turlo brought in? He was a replacement for a character that got killed off in the series, Earthshock. Yeah, that was the reason why he was there, because they actually had lost one. Yeah, Turlo was actually brought in the story Marna Undead, which actually aired during the Doctor's second season show. Yeah, that's when he joined the crew. And he made part of the crew for the rest of the pretty much of the way the 20th season. He came in the third story of the season, and he was there up until basically the very next story, which was Planet of Fire. Mm-hmm. Which Tegan gets briefly mentioned in the story, though it's also first appearance of Perry Brown, played by Nicole Bryant, who by the way is 62. Yep. So basically, here's the weird thing: despite the fact you have Tegan wearing different outfits to show, Tegan wears the same exact outfit in all of his appearances. Still wears a schoolboy uniform up until his final appearance, when he finally gets out of the damn thing. And look at the one thing I've always bothered me about his suit is his collar, where he has a little bit of front comes part of his tie and the rest of it's exposed. Now that could be the British style, basically dressing, but me, it looks weird. Yeah, it just looks weird, the fact it looks like that. Yes. So, as Doctor himself, he basically, he gets captured at the end of part 1 by Stein. And he goes, oh, I'm a Dalek agent. And then, of course, it's revealed by Lenz, oh, wait, you can't kill him? Why not? Because he's basically be subject to duplication. And you're thinking, what? Duplication? Yeah, apparently it's started, and we see illusions of the previous few Doctors, some previous companions appearing stock footage, and then it stopped. Oh, and here's the reason for the plan itself. They want to duplicate the Doctor so they could take the TARDIS and his companions to Gallifrey to kill the High Council of Time Lords. And the Doctor's aghast at the fact that apparently this is one of the Daleks' plans. Kill the Time Lords. You're thinking, wait, they haven't started the Time War yet. They haven't. They do it because they're annoyance them. And by the way, what happened to the duplicates after the story? You see Turlough and Tegan's duplicates. They don't do anything. When the heck they make duplicates of these two is never explained. It just basically is how much I really love the story. It feels as though a lot of stuff was tacked on very last minute and very much rushed. Now, okay, so why exactly? You probably watch the story okay, so why do they want to free Devros? Oh, they need him. What reason? Virus. Yep, and then later on, the apparently Daleks find him unreliable. Probably because basically you didn't get a freaking info Supreme Dalek. And then he just orders basically enemy working with him all killed. And later on, Lutta is ordered to be killed. All his men except for himself and 2 other guys get killed. Lutta himself basically survives the story to appearing Attack of the Cybermen. Tegan herself basically gets tired of all death, just walks away from the Doctor. And then see him again until fixed for the Centaurans. And Dimension Time. While Dr. Carol will go off next venture where they basically meet Tegan's replacement, Perry Brown, who is pretty much there for that very next story, and basically the first season of Very Next Doctor, and she leaves about halfway through his final story arc. Yeah, Perry Brown for you. Yep. Yeah, so it feels as though by the way, the Daleks and appearance all but the Supreme God get killed by this virus, and Lutton is probably the only character first in this story who actually survives, because everyone else gets killed. Everybody dies. Yeah, it's one of those stories where this happened like this, because apparently they like doing this. So what happened to Devros? He apparently got succumbed to the Malevolent virus, and then, here's something weird though, he pops up next story perfectly fine, and no explanation for it. I'll discuss that when I discuss that story, because it is bizarre. How the heck do you survive a freaking virus like that? Well, it looked like he freaking died. Oh wait, he's done it before, in his very first appearance, in Genesis Daleks, Presley was killed. Nope, he was hibernation. Yeah. Lays the story that's in Scarrow. Next time we don't see Scarrow until, briefly in Revolution Daleks. Yep. Still a pretty good story. Despite the fact being so confused. If you watch it, wow. I found the story to be quite engaging of a story. And you're probably all thinking, based on what I described, you think I may hate it. So I loved it. It's just that basically it feels like we have 5 or 6 plots going in the same story. Yeah. But not much else to say about this story. I'm going long enough to talk about Revolution Dalek. Let's move on to somebody else. Okay, so next video, Comic Corner. That'll be it for tonight. Okay, next video. Bye.